Creepiest things kids have ever said to their parents. My 6-year-old came home from school one day, bursting through the door with tears streaming down her face. "I miss my other family," she said. "What other family?" I asked, thinking she may have been talking about her grandparents, or other friends or relatives. "My alien robot family," she explained, continuing to explain that she lived with them in the sky before she came into my tummy. She chose to come down because she was angry with them, and chose our family, but now she missed them and wanted to go back for a visit. When I was about 4, my mom found me in the bathroom with all my Barbies, making them float face down in the bath. When she asked what I was doing, I replied, "The man in the wardrobe told me if I didn't do it, it would be my turn to swim face down." Not creepy, but sad. My best friend died and I was trying to get back to my hometown for the funeral. I got overwhelmed with grief and laid my head down on my desk and started crying. My daughter came into the kitchen and asked me what was wrong. She was 8 at the time. I told her I was so sad because my friend died and I was missing her so much. My kiddo said, "Don't be so sad, Mommy, she's standing right next to you." I still get goosebumps just thinking about it. My 3-year-old son was softly singing while he was coloring. I stopped to listen, but I had never heard the song before. I asked where he learned it, and he said, "The lady in my bedroom sang it to me." On a flight with my son, the plane took off and hit a couple bumps. The passengers were being somewhat quiet when my son yelled, "We are all gonna die." When I was about 3 we had a cat that had stillborn kittens. I asked my father if we could make crosses for them, which he did. As he was making them I asked, "Aren't those too small?" "Dad, what do you mean?" "Me, aren't we going to nail them to them?" "Dad," after several moments' silence, "we're not going to do that." "Me, oh." My daughter was 3, and I was getting her ready for the day. She had been waking up with nightmares almost every night for a month or 2. I asked what she wanted for breakfast, and she told me she wanted to share it with the dead baby in her closet. I thought she meant one of her dolls, but when I pulled them out, she said no, not a doll, the dead one that sleeps on the closet floor at night. I have had multiple miscarriages. My daughter, I met your babies that died, in my dream. They want you to know that you're a good mom. My mom told me that when I was a kid, around the age of 4, I would go to my great-grandmother every day to spend some time with her, and every time I was going home, I would say to her, as a good religious child I was, "God be with you," but one time, when I was leaving, I told her, "Go with God." According to my mom, my mom, correct me, but I insist in saying go with God. That night, my great-grandmother died. On my way from work, my 3-year-old daughter in the back seat, we'd pass a very old cemetery every day. She used to tell me the people in there were waving to her. I would tell her there was nobody there, and I explained what a cemetery was. She was adamant she saw people, and a school, and a store, and they'd wave to her. This went on for several months, and every day she'd tell me. I was telling this to a co-worker who lived in the area, and was a history buff. He then researched the cemetery, and told me the area was actually the site of where soldiers fought in the war, and they were buried there. They also made a very tiny town for a small time, Samptown, and there was a school, and a little store, and some people lived there. If that wasn't enough to freak me out, one day driving past my daughter told me a lady in there wanted her to come in. I found a different route home after that. My family has recently moved to a new home in a new country. It was a well-furnished apartment, and in our bedroom was a painting that looked like hair free-flowing in the air. It wasn't a pleasant or soothing painting, but I was trying to make peace with it. My son was 2.5 years old then. One day I was settling him down for an afternoon nap in my bedroom, when he said, "I don't want to sleep in this room." I asked him why, and he said, "This painting looks at me and tries to talk to me, and I don't like it." My 5-year-old asked me when he is going to be 23. I told him in 18 years. He replied, well, I hope don't die again, cause that's how old I was the last time I went to heaven. My sister described her imaginary friend, saying, he sits on my bed and waits for his mom. He's not allowed to go home by himself because of his arm. I asked what happened to his arm, and she said, his mom ran him over when he was drawing with chalk. That's why he's always crying, because he doesn't like being dead. My 4-year-old has an imaginary friend named John. He's had him for a while, but a few months ago he came to me, completely serious, and said, Big John said he loves you. And then walked away. Now he has always referred to him as his buddy John. For example, my buddy John and I. My grandfather's name was John and everyone used to call him Big John. He passed away when I was 6 years old. We lived with him at the time of his passing and he was such a huge part of my life. I have never referred to him as Big John nor even John when speaking about him, always just Grandpa. My 4-year-old son and I were waiting for our food at Panera. While we stood there, he started rubbing my belly and talking to it. I asked him what he was doing. He said that he was talking to the baby. I informed him that I was not pregnant. And he said, there's a baby in your belly ... I just saw it crawl across the floor and climb up into you. I was sound asleep, and at around 6 a.m. I was woken up by my 4-year-old daughter's face inches from mine. She looked right into my eyes and whispered, I want to peel all your skin off. The backstory here is I had been sunburned the previous week, and was starting to peel. In my sleep-addled state, however, it was pretty terrifying for a few seconds. I didn't know if I was dreaming, or what was going on. My sister, Haley, was born exactly 2 months after our great-grandmother died. One day Haley woke up and informed us it was her 95th birthday. When we tried to reason with her, she started crying, saying that her real name was Irene, my granny's name, not Haley. This lasted all day, and the next day she didn't remember anything. My mother was babysitting my daughter while I was at a doctor's appointment and said, oh no, Grandma. Mom is not coming anymore today. She was in a bad accident. She can't come get us. I had indeed been in an accident that almost killed me at that exact time. None of my family had yet been notified. My 3-year-old daughter stood next to her newborn brother and looked at him for a while, then turned and looked at me and said, Daddy, it's a monster. We should bury it. Why are you crying? Bad man. What bad man? There. Points behind me at a dark corner of the room. Lamp on bookshelf next to said darkened corner falls off as soon as I turn to look. She slept in our bed that night. Getting my 2.5-year-old daughter out of the bath one night, my wife and I were briefing her on how important it was she kept her privates clean. She casually replied, oh, nobody scroofs me there. They tried one night. They kicked the door in and tried, but I fought back. I died and now I'm here. She said this like it was nothing. I was tucking in my 2-year-old. He said, goodbye, Dad. I said, no, we say good night. He said, I know. But this time it's goodbye. Had to check on him a few times to make sure he was still here. Walking past an old cemetery, my then 3-year-old son casually said, my brother is in there. When I reminded him that he didn't have a brother, he said, no, Mama. From before. When the other lady was my mommy. Go back to sleep, there isn't anything under your bed. He is behind you now. Still haven't gotten over that one and shiver at the memory. I was with my sister, her husband, and their 2-year-old daughter. We were talking about loved ones that had recently passed. My father had died sometime recently. My brother-in-law went and grabbed a picture of his mother, who had died in a car crash when he was 6, to show me. When my niece saw the picture though, she started laughing. We asked her what was so funny and she looked at us and said, that's my special friend who sings to me. I still shiver a bit just thinking about it.